I believe in someone's life, the biggest regret is when they are 75, 85, they think about the chances they didn't take. So I thought, even whether I win or lose, at least I show the path, open the door or break the door to show the next generation this is the path to go.
This just shows why I really wanted you on this podcast, because it shows that you're not only passionate about the Tamil community and want to give back, but you also know and you're very grateful for the opportunities you got here in Scarborough and in Toronto, that you're doing your best to give back to that community as well. So you're serving the entire community. This is why you are where you are.
Even now, after 6 years, I meet people, they said, you know, your election night, I was praying. My mom and I were crying and praying. And I think when you genuinely be kind to people, you can really connect with people. I never took those words very lightly. I took it very seriously and became my lifestyle.
Vijay, I want to start off by saying I feel so special that this is your first ever podcast. So welcome to my podcast. I feel very honored that you made time to be here because I know how crazy your schedule is. So for you to make time to be here today means a lot to me. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Jananie. You know, you're my good friend. So I want my first podcast to be with someone that I'm very comfortable with. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, me and Vijay went to school together, so we know each other for a very long time. So this conversation is not going to be about politics, if that's what you're here for. We're going to talk about everything else except for politics.
That's right.
So just to start off, like I said, so many people who see you on social media see the side of you being the Associate Minister of Housing and the Member of Parliament.
Yeah.
But we need to know the background. We need to know how this whole story happened. So can you give us a little bit about where you were born, when you moved here, a little bit about background so we know who Vijay is behind the scenes?
Okay, for sure. I was born in Tamilulam, a coastal town in Tamilulam. I grew up there. It was a beautiful childhood experience growing up with your neighbors, friends.
Yes.
But also, we went through a lot of struggles. I grew up without electricity.
Wow.
In Tamilulam, the electricity was banned. So in the daytime, we go out and play. But in the nighttime, we go to bed so early because there's no lights, there's no TV, nothing. No. So that was my childhood. But it was beautiful. But at the same time, it was very... it was a lifestyle where your life won't be guaranteed the next day morning because every night you get the Sri Lankan Navy or the Air Force, they bomb your villagers. So sometimes night times the parents has to sleep very close because if there is a bombs coming to your village, they have to close the eardrum.
Right.
Otherwise, the young people's eardrum would break because of the sound, the effect of those bombs. So that was my childhood. Also, I was born there and came to Canada at the age of 14. Landed here at the Toronto International Airport and started high school in just short 7 days.
Wow.
I went to John Vanier Catholic High School. Now they call it John of Arc. So that's how I started my journey in Canada. But before I came to Canada, in 7 years, I lived in India, Tamil Nadu.
Nice.
Specifically in Trichy. Tiruchirappalli is famous for Malakottai.
Of course.
So I grew up, born in Tamilulam, grew up in Tamil Nadu.
Nice.
And started my grade 9 in Toronto.
That's actually crazy because I just realized how similar our lives are, because I actually came here when I was a teenager too, and I started grade 9.
Wow.
But I came from the Middle East. I was born and raised in the Middle East.
Okay.
So obviously that's a little bit different, but yeah, I did come around that age too. So I always find it interesting to ask people what their experience was coming here as a teenager, because you usually hear stories about people coming here when they were much younger.
Right.
So everything they remember is their Canadian history.
Right.
But for us, we also have another background that we remember so well.
Right.
So when you have that background of like the experiences that you went through and then you come here, what was that transition like for you?
Right. First, it was a big shift from Tamilulam to Tamil Nadu.
Right.
Because Tamil Nadu was full of events, cricket, movies.
Yes.
It's all very fast-paced and biggest democracy. It's all about culture and the movies. And then when I came to Canada, I felt like I became more responsible. I felt like I'm part of a big machine.
That's so interesting.
And again, as I said, I started grade 9, and then almost near in grade 10, I started working multiple part-time jobs. Started as a convenience store clerk.
Okay.
After school, grade 10, I go to convenience store, work there, close the shop at 12 in the morning. And then I worked at Tim Hortons, Cineplex. I made pretzels.
Wow.
I dishwashed at Tamil banquet halls.
Okay.
Even cleaned washrooms for weddings and receptions. And Cineplex, Best Buy, you name it, I worked there. So I think Canada made me very responsible for some reason, maybe something in the water. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Of course, like every immigrant family, like we all came with a lot of debt.
Yeah.
So it's not just parents responsible to pay back. In every immigrant family, the kids also take the fair share of
course.
responsibility to pay
Yeah.
back their debt. So I was fully immersed, even though my schedule was full with school and doing multiple part-time jobs. I immersed myself into the community.
Yes.
That's how everything started. First, of course, I started for my 40 years that I had to complete to graduate from high school. But then I really like meeting people in Canada. First 2 years, I didn't really like it, but then I started meeting people. I start meeting people from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
I made some friends. And then despite my busy schedule, I was going out, talking to people, and people started noticing me. Oh, who's this young Tamil guy being active in different areas? So that's how everything started here in Canada. Because when I came here, like in Tamilulam, like the whole the struggle and the genocide started because we were not given the equal opportunity, especially for education and the language and the rights. So when I came here, when they said you can study whatever you want, you'll get OSAP, I felt like I felt like I got a lottery, and I felt, you know what, I'm going to study whatever I want.
Yeah.
And
it's the freedom, right?
It's a freedom.
Yeah.
And everyone welcomed us.
Right.
Not just like the community here, Tamil community here in Scarborough, but even my teachers at my high school, they welcomed me with both arms, and they taught me English. They taught me the culture. So I felt like the being engaged and giving back, I think, is the way for me to, small way of giving back to the community. And that's how things started. But now it looks like, I think it's all meant to be this way.
Right, yeah. It really does. So I was actually going to ask, while you were saying that story, like if you were like an introvert and kind of did your own thing, or you were an extrovert, but you seem like an extrovert. So you did go around and start.
I am naturally an introvert, Jananie.
Yeah.
But if I have to, it's like a switch on. I can be extrovert.
Can't relate. Yeah, I know.
Even in high school, I do talk to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But when I'm alone, I'm very content. I'm very happy just being myself. I can sit in a room just by myself, and I don't have to go talk to people. So I'm naturally introvert, but I can be extrovert. It's like a switch on, switch off. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That probably really helps, because obviously now you're at a lot of events and you have to meet people on a regular basis. Sometimes you don't get that time to just be by yourself, right? So I guess that
people
social
think,
skills.
you're very extrovert. You just always go talk to people. But I think most of the Tamilakal, I have the same Kucha Subhabam, the same thing. I do have that.
Yeah.
It always comes out, especially when I get on the stage.
Of course.
It always comes out.
Yeah.
But because of the position I'm in, I always go out and say hello to people and all that. But naturally, very, very introvert.
Okay, since you mentioned stage, I have to bring this up.
Sure.
There is another side to you that I know you don't talk about a lot, but since I know about it, I am going to mention a little about it.
Sure.
So before you got into politics, you were very involved in the arts,
Correct.
especially dance.
Correct.
And I think people who are our age or even older probably remember that phase of you where you were on every stage performing. So I don't know how much of this you want to talk about. So the only question I want to ask is, did that help with like your stage presence now? Because, we all get stage fright when we're like performing or doing anything. But then when you're speaking, all the attention's on you.
Right.
So did that like contribution to the arts also help with public speaking now?
100% yes. Arts definitely helped me. It started from my from home. My mom is a music teacher.
Okay.
She teaches Vinay and vocal.
Oh, nice.
And even I learned like violin and vocal and all that. So arts was always
Wait,
there.
you learned violin and vocal?
Yes.
Okay.
When I was in India,
I
we
didn't
learned
know
it
this.
from a family, a music family. They
Nice.
traditionally they teach at university, so I learned from them.
Okay.
So when I came here, dance was a form of arts that I was expressing who I am, because I'm going from one country to other
Yeah.
country, going from surviving a genocide and living in a biggest democracy and coming to a most diverse country. So like my language was rhythm, my language was dance, just to express who I am. So I yes, because of the dancing aspect at high schools,
Yep.
at universities.
You said
think
I wasn't going to say it when you brought it
that
up.
definitely gave me some confidence when it
Yeah.
comes to stage presence.
Yeah.
And I always believe, I even told my friends during my high school times when I used to dance,
Yeah.
that when you're on the stage, whether if it's 5 minute slot for your performance, you should own the stage. You should be fully. It's your time. It's your stage, and they're watching you. So just maximize that time, and no one can tell you what to do when you in your 5 minute slot. So I always believe in that. Even I have that thought even now when I speak. Okay, it's my time given to me, and then let me express my story to the audience.
I think you do that really well, because obviously I've noticed the dance side of you, and I've also noticed you now when you speak on stage, you really take ownership of the stage. And I haven't ever seen an event that I've been in where you've spoken where people are distracted. Everyone's paying attention to you. So I think I really have to say you're a great public speaker. So continue doing that. I just wanted to give you my side of the story, because I don't know if people say that to you, but from what I've noticed, I can definitely say you really know how to like grasp people's attention when you're on stage.
Well, thank you. That's such a good compliment. I think when you talk from the heart about your own story,
Yes.
Janani, I think people want to listen.
Of course.
Because people want to listen someone's journey, someone's struggle. When I speak, I want to touch some aspects of what I have been through as a Tamil Canadian, as a Ulam Tamil. What are the things that I have touched? What are the struggles I've been through? When I talk about those things, especially young people, they do listen. So I always try to tell my story, because I think we have to tell our stories, whether it's history or the present. I think through stories we create histories, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since you brought up the youth, I do have to ask, there are so many youth that now look up to you as a leader. Like I remember we were all once part of Tamil youth associations, for example, and we were the youth ones. And now there are youth who are looking up to us and like our generation of leaders, and they want to learn from us. So for leaders like that, when it comes to being confident in yourself, I know you already mentioned a little bit about it, but let's say there's someone who really wants to follow the path that you're on, but they're very scared about what other people will say, or they're not confident in themselves. So what's a piece of advice you would give for them to kind of put aside what other people say and put aside that noise and just focus on your goal and be more confident in yourself? Because I know after the story that you've shared so far, it takes a lot of confidence for you to follow the path that you're on now.
Yeah. Janani, I don't know about you, but I still feel like I'm a youth.
Of course. Yeah.
I think when young people, when they want to pursue their dream, the biggest dream of their life, I think they got to take away the fear. and then without that fear, they should pursue that the whatever they want to do. I think fear is the biggest blocker in people's life, and they don't realize just because they have a fear in their mind, they've been living with that fear without taking that step with a leap of faith for a very, very long time, and then it's too late. Because I believe in someone's life, the biggest regret is when they are 75, 85. They don't necessarily think about what are things they have done.
Yeah.
They think about the chances they didn't take,
Yeah, of course.
the steps they didn't take to do what they really, really, really want to do. I think that regret will be the biggest pain in their life near the end of the life.
Yeah.
So to those young people who are watching, I would say, you don't want to be in that deathbed, 75, 85, and worry about you don't take those chances and steps. So just take it, but without fear. I met this Anna. He wrote me a note at the end of a interaction, and then I still have that note with me, and it says in the Tamil, நீங்கள் பயப்படாம இன்னும் தலைமைத்துவ பதவி எடுக்கணும்னு. He said that when I was in university times.
Wow.
So that means you take leadership without fear. I still remember that note. I still keep that note very close to my heart, because that's one of the line that motivated me. So that's the same thing that gave it to me by an older brother of mine. I will give it to the next generation. Take leadership without any fear.
Well said.
Thank you.
One thing I want to get into now is we kind of skipped into like you being in high school and being in the arts and now to where you are. But let's talk about the middle phase, that transition from this to that, because I know it wasn't easy. And one thing I have to say is many people probably think that when you kind of announce that you are going to be like run for the member of parliament, for example, like the assumption is that because people know you already, that it was super easy for you to get to the position where you are.
Right.
But I know it wasn't easy, and I'm sure there's a story for you to share. But what I want to know is, before we even get into that, I want to go into your mindset during that time. Like, what was that spark? Was there something that sparked that interest for you to be like, you know what, this is it, this is the path that I want to go on? Was it like a specific incident or a specific thought that you had? And like, how did that transition happen? Like, where did it start?
I think everything started during 2009,
Okay.
the height of the Tamil genocide.
Yeah.
I think during that time, many Tamil youth, they switched their career path, they switched their major to go into law, to go into politics, to go into international law. I continue to pursue my bachelor's in business administration. However, we've been encouraging a lot of young people to also get into politics. Those who look like they're politicians, they're like, well spoken. I was not one of them. I was always behind the scene. I was always the guy who part of the stage crew.
Yeah.
Always guys who go out and put a poster at the Tamil stores. Always the volunteer. But we always encouraged, we protected, we almost brought some people to become the next, the political representation of Tamil people in Canada. I'm sure other countries, whether it's Germany or Australia or Europe and all that, everyone was doing the same thing in 2009. They were all thinking about the same thing. And we didn't have those representation reach where they need to reach, or they didn't take that as their professional career or professional steps. So at one point, community leaders here in Scarborough, they approached me to run. And then, of course, I said no. And then I was working in a bank, and I told them, look, I'm not going to run. However, I'll help, like I always. And then I did help. And then almost 1.5, 2 years after, the same group of community leaders, they asked me again to run. And then I was like, I took it a bit serious, and then I asked my Amma and Appa, and then my older brother, and like every Tamil parent, you know what they said?
Absolutely
they said
not.
no.
Yeah.
They said, Amma was like, Amma and Appa was like, don't do it. Pursue your bank job. You're doing fine. Maybe settle down, get married, buy a house. Maybe after you turn 40, 45, think about it.
Yeah.
And they also said, oh, politics is too much, because you know how they watch Tamil movies.
Of course.
Oh, it's too dangerous for your life and all that. And then my older brother was like, you know what? They kept asking you are young. You anyone can get a 9-to-5 job. Why don't you quit and try this? They're asking you again and again. And then I had an option to listen to my parents or my brother. And then I thought to myself, I sat down in my room. I was like, you know what? I don't want to live a normal life, like, you know, get married, buy a house, have kids, retire. So I was like, okay, I got this opportunity. I could have got killed in Tamil Eelam. Because my parents, especially my mom, brought me out of Tamil Eelam. I survived that genocide, and now I have the luxury of getting high education, luxury of having social media, speaking and all that. So I thought, you know what? I'll take this as an opportunity. We tried so many people in this path, and they didn't come along. So I thought, either whether I win or lose, at least I show the path, open the door or break the door to show the next generation this is the path to go, if you want to pursue politics.
Right.
So my thought process was like, not winning or losing, at least paving the path. You don't have to be a son or daughter of a wealthy family,
Of course, yeah.
or coming from like a big family with politics. Because my father, he works at a factory, now retired after COVID. My mom, she's an early childhood educator.
Okay.
And my brother is an accountant. So very, they have no background in politics.
Right.
They're not involved in the community. We are a very quiet family. So I was involved, and all the people I met in Canada, it's everyone that I met. To be precise, Janani, these are people I earned.
Yeah.
Because I met, like we met. So that 2009 is the pivotal moment. But my decision is, if, like I said, the reason other folks were not ready to run is the public failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I thought about it, this is the decision moment that if I fail, next day morning I'm going to wake up.
And go back.
I can start from Tim Hortons or start from the bank. I can
Yeah.
come back again in next 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
But if I failed, I only compared me with my brothers and sisters who couldn't come out of Tamil Eelam. If they failed in Tamil Eelam, that means if they got shot by the Sri Lankan army for the only reason they're Tamil, they die. So I was like, I can fail so many times in Canada. I can still wake up next day morning. But my brothers and sisters, when they fail back home, they die. They run for their life. If they don't run properly, like, they will shoot you.
Yeah.
So that's the moment that made me, you know what? I'll go. Win or lose, let's go.
That's an incredible answer.
Thank you.
Okay, so after hearing that, I do have to ask the other side of the story.
Okay.
I know there are people that weren't happy with you running. And I remember that phase that you went through where, you know, you're like, there's so much going on, but I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to, you know, keep my mind focused on what I want to achieve. And you obviously won. So it shows how much, like when you focus on something and really put your heart into it, it will happen, right?
Right.
So, but I want to know, like, how did you really handle those people who are like, I don't know if you should do this, or, you know, like, weren't really having faith in the fact that you can go further with it? Like, how did you handle that?
Well, they didn't provide my food or shelter.
Yeah.
And
Facts.
why do I have to listen to them? Because the first comments and feedback I received when I said, you know what, okay, I'll take it as yes and I'll run. There's like, who are you? What's your background? Where are you coming from? Like you just came to Canada. You know what I mean? So I was like, my parents provided the shelter. They brought me to Canada. When I came to Canada, I don't know anyone.
Right.
And so I don't have to listen to them. And there are a lot of social media comments came, and I always believe in one thing. I know it's very it's a very deep thought I had. It just, before I was born, there were millions of years came before me. There were a lot of people came before me. after I'm gone, there is going to be millions of years after me. And there's going to be millions of amazing people going to come and live in this world. So if you look at in the macro galaxy world, my life is a dot. And me running for a public office is a tiny dot within that dot. And why do I have to care about some comments on social media? Do they provide food? Did they pay for my education? Did they took me away from a brutal genocide of 21st century? So that's it.
I like that because, that's one of the hardest things that we kind of go through, where it's like when we're starting even a project or just being who we are, the one thing that a lot of people struggle with is facing criticism from people and like not being able to handle the feedback we get from other people and moving forward.
Right.
So, it's such a simple thought that you said that they're not paying your bills, but it's such a good thought to have because it's true. Like half of these people that always have those like comments to make about us don't really impact our life or like the next decision we make.
Right.
But the funny thing is when you actually succeed, they're the same people that will come and be like, oh, I always knew you were going to succeed. I always knew you were going to do well. I'm sure you go through that now, right?
Absolutely. As long as you know who you are and what you're standing for and what your goal is, you don't have to convince. I'm not in the business of convincing people.
Yeah.
Even when I go door knocking, even when I talk to my residents, I introduce and I tell them, this is who I am and this is why I'm running. But I'm not in the staying back, convince each person. Like, no, that's not how we should be. I don't think anyone should convince any humans for anything in their life. It should all happen naturally.
Right.
You can show the world who you are. Whether they like it or not, that's their business. And so I don't think I would take those negative naysayers comments like that because I know who I am, I know what I'm doing, and whether I succeed or success or failure, I will keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Given the position you're in now, like for the people who only see you on social media, for example, or see you at events but don't get the chance to interact with you, one thing they probably notice is how busy you are. Like your life it's like schedule after schedule, like appointment after appointment. I want to know, how do you handle the pressure that comes with it? Like it's like, because it's not easy for people, even when it comes to things like time management. That's one thing I respect about you because, again, I've noticed it today at events that you go to, you're always on time. And I'm like that too, where it's like if someone tells me 5 o'clock, I'm there at like 4:55. Like that's how I usually kind of do, especially when it involves other people's time as well. So how do you handle the pressure and also make sure that, you manage your time and like manage things in a day to make sure you like, there's nothing messy in the day to like kind of mess up the way you think, or like, because when you're like late for one event, it delays the other events and you're just a mess by the end of the day.
Right.
And instead of that, every event you go to, when you strategize it in a way, it just kind of flows, right? Like you said. So what's the secret behind that?
Like, to be honest, Jananie, the political life is much busier than I thought.
Yeah.
It's always because a lot of events, a lot of meetings, there's no downtime and there's no day offs. For the time management, I give all the 110% credit to my team. They schedule everything.
Right.
We have a scheduling team. They talk to all the organizers. They do A to Z.
Okay.
So I don't manage time. They manage my time, and they are best at it. I have one of the best teams in politics. What I manage in every day is I manage my energy.
Right.
So every event I go to, every speech I do, I give out a lot of energy. When I'm talking to someone, I do give undivided attention to that human. So that means I'm giving a lot of energy. So I only manage my energy. Okay, I'm going to maximize my energy for the long days. For example, Saturday and Sunday in Scarborough, if you're an elected official, you have like a lot of events.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure I manage, take breaks, and eat properly. So that's the only thing I try to manage, because once I'm on the stage, it's almost like a boxing ring. Your staff cannot help you. It's all you.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure I deliver
Right.
my speeches properly. It depends on the situations. So I make sure that when I'm going to the events from one to event and another event, I listen to my staff and they give me coaching. Okay, we're going to spend this much time here, because they have to manage it because a lot of things going on. But once I am on stage, it's all me. So I had to make sure I manage my energy. I'm going to give all into my speech. When I speak to my constituent, I'm just focusing, listening to what they have to say, and then they manage the time. So it's like a teamwork. Politics is not one person do everything. It's like a lot of team members. They work throughout the clock, especially working in political life. It's not 9 to 5. Even for staffers, I'm so blessed to be on. I'm not saying because of this podcast. Is I got one of the amazing people, and they all have some sort of passion towards politics, towards the community. Somehow they all connected to me before. So I know all the people. I know what they have done. They not-for-profit organization. Right. So I always handpick best of the best. So they just manage my time, and even today they manage my schedule, and then I just make sure I preserve my energy so I can give all into this podcast.
Well, thank you for that.
Of course.
So the other thing I want to know is, so all these skills, was there someone that you looked up to when you were younger that you learned all these skills from, or someone who was, it doesn't have to be in politics, it could even be like in your personal life. Is there someone that inspired you, who you kind of looked up to when you were much younger and said, I want to be like them? I can think of one person, but I'll let you answer.
I don't know who you're thinking.
Okay.
Maybe that's not true.
Okay. Keep going.
But the real answer is, in politics, no. Okay. In politics, when I got into politics, I didn't know what it's all about. I learned on the job.
Okay.
But I know whether you're running for trustee or councillor, or even running for Prime Minister of Canada, you got to go door knock. In Canada, you got to go talk to the people. You got to listen to what they have to say. I learned the basics. And nowadays, because of social media and all that, sometimes people tend to think it's all about social media, TV, radio ads. But that is not how you get elected.
Right.
You got to go in front of people, talk to them, listen to them. They will be positive, they will be negative, and you have to understand the concerns. People here who helped me when I was running in 2018, I got the right advice, and they made sure they put me to work. My first campaign manager to my second campaign manager, my campaign team, they don't even let me to come back to my campaign office during the lunch break. They will send the lunch, get in the car, eat, and go back door knocking, because they want me to be out there talking to people without taking the breaks. I had to throw a couple of pairs of shoes during 2017 and 18 because I was doing that much walking, sometimes just like running. I have door knocked in my area like once, twice, over 30,000 households. I got to do again and again. So during those elections, sometimes you go read on Reddit, people talk about the election. They say, oh, this young guy, he came to my house and spoke to my parents at least twice.
Oh, wow.
So I'm sure this guy, my parents are going to probably vote for this guy. So I've been reading that, and so that's why, like, I got the right advice. It's not like I looked up to someone in politics, because I didn't have that role model in politics. But I got the right advice to do the hard work rather than just do all the PR work and see you're going to win the elections. Yeah.
Everything you said also, like, I was thinking, like, it applies to artists as well, because sometimes, you know, as artists, like, when we put out our work, we're very, like, concerned about the feedback we're going to get, but it is important for us to get that feedback and meet people and hear what they have to say so that it improves our art, you know, it improves the quality of our art. So everything that you said also applies to this. But one thing I wanted to know is, like, for youth that are now looking up to you, what's something you would say, like, you wish you can see this change within the youth community now that, like, when you compare it to like when we were youth and the, like, you know, part of like Tamil Youth Association, for example, the way things were then and things are now, like obviously their lifestyle has changed. So a lot of the
Right.
youth's lifestyle now is very different from ours.
Right.
What's one thing you can say that I want to see this change within the Tamil youth of, we'll say Toronto for now, but
Okay.
what's something you would say, I want to see this change?
That's a good question, Janani. I do think about this particular topic about our youth because I really want them to take more leadership in our community. So compared to our times when we were in university, high school to now, I genuinely think youth that are right now, they are actually more engaged with the community when it comes to searching their roots,
Yeah.
who they are, where they're coming from, and speak more Tamil
Yeah.
than our generation did. But I really want something that they want to do more is that I want them to take more ownership of the community, take more ownership of their generation. When they say ownership, I don't want them to think, oh, they are young, what can we do? There are bigger people in the community. There are a knowledgeable person who knows about, for example, Tamil genocide. Oh, there are other people, they know more. And I don't want them to think that. There is not anyone like that. There is no one like that. Only the genuine people who are young, they're very genuine. And they really care about the community and the cause and everything. So I want them to think they are the one should take the leadership. Doesn't matter how young you are, doesn't matter how much you know. I think you don't need to know everything, or you don't have to have all the experience in the community to take leadership. I think they lack taking more leadership and ownership in the community, but they are genuinely care about who they are and searching for their roots. Because when I talk to youth, I think they are very well connected, but they always tell me, oh, that organization will take care of this. Oh, this guy or this girl who are already like much older will take care of that. No, they're not going to do the same way you would do. In all the history, whether it's Tamil history or any other history, all the change makers, they come from the age of mid-teens. They're young people who made all the histories in the world, not people who are like 30, 40, 50. There are some exceptional historical icons, but mostly these are young people who make change. They become the change makers, and that's the only thing I want to tell my young generation. Just take a lot of leadership and ownership. Like this Anna told me, just go out, take the leadership wherever. It doesn't matter which faculty or industry or the program that you want to study. Just take more leadership in your field. And when you take leadership and when you become one of the top in Canada, top in the world, and when you give back to Tamil people, especially people from Tamil Nadu, when you give back to them, when you lend your helping hand, that help will be 1,000 times better than the people in the community. They will do that, this organization will do that. So that's my only ask. Just take more ownership of this community of Canada, of Scarborough and Tamil community, etc., etc.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the reasons I asked that question was because one thing I noticed in the youth is that they have all the leadership skills waiting inside,
Right.
but they're using that mainly on social media,
Right.
where they put up a story and they say their opinions and they say, okay, I've done my job.
Right.
But that isn't it. Like, there's so much more action you need to take for
Right.
that, so it gets implemented in the real world. It's not
Right.
only about social media. Yes, social media is a very powerful platform, and it's good that they're sharing their opinions. They're very vocal. This
Absolutely.
generation is very vocal about their opinions,
Yeah.
but it's more than social media. You need to do the action too. Like, it's easy to say, oh, that person has connections so they can help people, like in Sri Lanka or like wherever it is. But it's not just about that.
Right.
It's about taking that action to be like, if they can do it, so can I.
Absolutely.
And taking that first step, right? So
Right.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Oh, thank you.
And I think one other thing that I really wanted to ask you about that I'm excited about is
Okay.
when I heard about the announcement of the Tamil Community Center
Right.
in Scarborough Rouge.
Yes.
So we've obviously seen community centers and cultural centers of other cultures coming up, and we do our performances there. We're there every weekend. But to have a Tamil community center, like the amount of pride and ownership that's going to have when it's developed, it's like nothing can compare to that.
Right.
And it also gives us our own safe space to talk more about the arts and sports, recreation, whatever it is, right?
Right.
It's our own space. So
Right.
what do you think is the vision for that? Like from your side of the story, like what's the vision for the Tamil Community Center?
Thanks for asking this. I think we all have done events, hosted, organized events. I'm sure you have hosted many events as artists. We all look for ask for the quotes from different community centers, and the cost is always beyond our budget. And I think every organizer in the community knows that story. That's why it's always a dream for the Tamil community in Canada to have their own Tamil community center. So when I got elected, even when I was door knocking, one of the things that grandparents asked me, "Oh, Tami, Angalakando, we need a community center, so that we can meet all our friends who are in their senior age group, so they can have a hangout spot." In the Rouge Park area, like a lot of grandparents, seniors asked me that too. But as a youth, I know that we do need a community center. So this application came for Tamil Community Center for an ISEP program that we all two levels of government has. These are funding that's provided for infrastructure projects in Canada.
Okay.
So this came to provincial government, came to me, and then I took it to our government, and we are doing presentations and advocacy, and Premier Ford and the government Minister of Infrastructure and Minister of Finance asked, what is is it an underserved area? It is an underserved area. Scarborough, northeast of Scarborough, it is an underserved area, and the community is backing up. They are willing to do the work. And then after a couple of presentations, the provincial government approved the Tamil Community Center. This is something that we've been trying for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
But this team came up with the right proposal, and I was there inside the parliament, got approved and secured almost $12 million from the provincial government and sent it to the federal government. They also approved after that, and they also provided funding. And the previous mayor, John Tory, he already promised the Tamil community, you know what, he's going to give a land worth of $25 million for free, $1 every year for 99 years lease to build Tamil Community Center. So first time in the history, like we've been our parents paying taxes for a long time. They're contributing through academia, science, arts, you name it. Especially we are entrepreneurial community. We start business, multiple business, and pay tax. So after the history, all three levels are coming together: securing the land, securing the funding, and the dream of Tamil Community Center almost came to this point. And right now you're in the fourth stage. After all the three levels securing the fund, the fourth stage is where the Tamil community, there's a rule that community also has to do fundraising part. And now it's in that part. There is a Tamil Community Center Board of Directors community, consists of different professionals from different walks of different industries. They are part of it, and they are working on to do the last piece, which is one of the most important pieces, where community, young people, families, businesses, they should come together and also do the community part of it. So once that's done, we can start the construction of the Tamil Community Center. And the unique thing about it is, Janani, the architectural design. If you look this Tamil Community Center from the aerial view, you can see a Lana's shape, Tamil letter, Mavalavalana.
Yeah.
You can see that shape in the Tamil Community Center. It will have a library space for seniors to get together, like the Amma and Ayya asked us when you're door knocking. And of course, going to have auditorium, a gymnasium for young people to have recreational activities. And let's say they're going to have a event, they don't have to go give so much money out there. They can give they can book it in a cost-effective manner, and then they can have their own programs in Tamil Community Center. So this will be a place for the older generation to get together, like back home, Tamil Ulam. At the same time, for the new generations to come, they can call home, they can be together, they can learn about their roots, history, heritage, especially language. So even after our life, like, there will be a place they can all come together. So that's why I think it's one of the dream for the entire community. We are almost in a good stage right now. 3 stages have passed in the last stage in the community fundraising. So I use this your podcast as a platform to ask everyone, support Tamil Community Center and support the board of directors, and let's get the Tamil Community Center built.
It's just hearing about it makes me excited. Like, I can't wait to attend events at this community center. Right. But one thing you mentioned that also relates to what you said before. If we want this community center to happen, at the end, we're the ones that needs to put the action into making that happen. Yeah. Whether it's fundraising or spreading the word, trying to get the support. So I really hope that our community does do the fundraising necessary for it, and we can see this happen. Like, I'm praying for this to happen because I think it's something that we really need. And to be able to sit and watch a show or whatever it is in an auditorium in a Tamil community center is going to be all of our dream. I can't wait for that to happen. And it's so nice to see how passionate you are. And I'm pretty sure that so many other people are just as passionate as you. So fingers crossed it happens very soon.
I'm happy it's coming in my riding, Scarborough Rouge Park, because in Canada, Scarborough has the largest Tamil population when it comes to a region. And also, when we were growing up, I know a lot of our friends, I want to talk about this because it's very important, especially for the Tamil community and overall Scarborough community as well. There are a lot of our friends, they want to get into medicine, but they cannot spend time here. They have to fly somewhere else. So almost 10 minutes to 15 minutes from where Tamil Community Center is coming, there is a construction happening to build the first ever medical school. So what that means is, in the future, if someone wants to study for a doctor and get into medicine, they don't have to go to a couple of universities that seats are limited in Canada or fly to other countries. They can study in Scarborough, become a doctor, and serve back to Scarborough. And that construction already started. So that is also exciting projects, because Tamil Community Center is equally important as a medical school, because this is very close, because there are a lot of parents, they still want their kids to become a doctor or engineer. So that's also very close to my heart.
And this just shows why I really wanted you on this podcast, because it shows that you're not only passionate about the Tamil community and want to give back, but you also know, and you're very grateful for the opportunities you got here in Scarborough and in Toronto, that you're doing your best to give back to that community as well. So you're serving the entire community. This is why you are where you are.
Thank you.
Just to wrap up, I do have some questions on a lighter note.
Sure.
I hope you're okay with me asking these questions, but
let's go.
This is just something I've always been curious about. When you go to an event, like, you meet a lot of people, right? Have you ever met someone who you pretended to remember meeting before, but you completely have no idea who they are, but you're like, I remember meeting you at another event?
It happens all the time.
I knew it.
Because I do meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, I'm really good at faces. So if I see someone, I know I met them.
Yeah.
And if I start talking to them,
because I'm not.
Generally, I'm good at names.
Okay, good.
I'm good at names because I genuinely ask them when they say their name. I ask them when they say when I meet you, you say Jananie Bhaskaran.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Jananie Bhaskaran. I repeat that. I'm not repeating, telling them.
Yeah.
I'm telling myself, so I remember. So I'm really good at faces. But once I start talking to them,
Yeah.
I'll first remember where did I meet them,
Right.
and then I'll remember like what are the conversation we had,
Yeah.
and then the name might come, might not come, but in general, I'm really good at face and names.
That's good because I feel like I can learn from that because I'm really good at faces, but names just flies off my head. But it's
Okay.
good to know. Second question. So when you get invited to dance competitions or dance related events, right? I know I've seen you, you just sit there and you're like this watching. Is there a part of you inside that's just like, oh, I want to be on stage dancing right now? Or have you kind of calmed that side down and you're more of the, the Vijay
No,
now?
when you walk into like especially dance competitions, the energy in
Yes.
the auditorium, definitely it's very contagious,
Yeah.
positive energy. So I do watch. I enjoy watching dancers. Sometimes I feel like standing up and clapping for them,
Yeah.
but I do feel like I can express myself, but
Yeah.
obviously I'm in this position. Sometimes I think, you know what, I used to do these things when I
Yeah.
was in high school and university, but I enjoy them. But the kids nowadays, they do an amazing job. They're actually taking the dance to a next level, and they are doing almost like world class level. So I'm so happy for them. And sometimes they do. There are one or two people who knows that I used to dance, so they
Yeah.
do sometimes ask me. But I try my best to stay
Avoid
away,
it.
avoid.
I'm waiting for that day where it's like you're like, okay, fine, let me just do it once. But no, I know, I'm glad you mentioned that because there are a lot of dance schools now that are here
Right.
that weren't there during our time, right?
Right.
So it's really nice to see they're putting up shows and doing shows more often, and to see the like young kids more involved in dance, and they're learning like proper dance, not just watching off like a
Right.
video or something. They're learning like steps and choreography.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that makes me so happy. Okay, that's all I'm going to ask about dance. I just wanted to know this one thing too. You mentioned like there was someone who you met that gave you a note.
Right.
But is there another like an older person that said something to you that really impacted you and kind of like that you constantly remind yourself of? Like it could be something where they're like, "Oh, I'm glad you're doing what you're doing." It's a compliment or some kind of feedback they've said that you've kept in your mind for like till today.
I would say that there's again another Anna in the community, and a long time ago, before I was running, he said, when you are so involved, when you get into politics, you will face a lot of criticism. He said, you will there will be a bar in front of you. You had to kuninjudan pogonum.
Yeah.
There's no way because you just very involved. You're not coming from a influential family or anything.
Right.
So he said that, but he foresaw a lot of things that has happened in my life, and I was shocked when things happens in my political life. There are some people actually said some words that's etched in my head because it's become more real and how they say
Right.
you have no other way other than kuninju.
Yeah.
They're dug
To be
in.
humble, right?
And then that's something always stayed with me. And then this another I used to be involved in the community. I was a youth. I used to give speeches like a couple of times a year, and I think this is the advice that I would take it to my graveyard, is that he said it in Tamil, நீங்கள் உயர உயர தாழ்ந்து தாழ்ந்து போகணும். So the higher the stages you go, whether it's physically a stage where you speak or the position you take,
Yeah.
you got to தாழ்ந்து நீங்கள் உங்களை இன்னும் தாழ்த்தி you become more humble. You got to go. And he said that when I was in university. I just blindly followed during that time.
Yeah.
But now it became my lifestyle. I was like, why I'm getting so much love, so much support, so much like people I have never met. They have prayed for me. They cried to see the election results in the positive because my election result was going up and down. And even now, after 6 years, I meet people. They said, your election night, I was praying. My mom and I were crying and praying. And I think when you genuinely like be kind to people, you can really connect with people. I see that. I think it's part of the energy, because energies don't lie.
No.
Energies, you cannot fake the energy. So I'm so grateful for these Annas who gave me these wise words, that somehow I came across these Annas, and they have told me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And now I'm applying, and I never took those words very lightly. I took it very seriously, and it became my lifestyle.
I feel like I can hear you speak forever, because obviously you've had a lot of experience, and just seeing your journey so far, like, it's very inspiring to see how far you've come from when I first knew you. But I think all I want to say is I just hope you keep rising higher and higher, and stay humble the way you are, because you truly are an example for that. You really are following what they taught you. So all I can say is I'm very glad we had this conversation. It's going to be very inspiring to so many youth who look up to you and who want to go in the same path as you. So genuinely, thank you for being here. It was an honor to have you. I hope we get to do another episode one day, once the Tamil Community Center is up, once the medical school is up, we can talk about that more. But thank you again for being here.
No, Jananie, thank you for having me. As I said, this is my first podcast.
I know, yay.
So, and thank you, because you're friends, so it made me very comfortable, and thank you for keeping it very light.
Of course.
So, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and follow on Spotify. Till next time.